Hey guys! Oh, I hope you can hear me. Hey Nady, hey Allegedly, hey Cool Gamer, how are you guys? I am streaming on data in West Virginia, watching Bentley and his cousin play. I have been packing and moving stuff all day and all day yesterday. So I'm just, oh my gosh, exhausted. And I drive back home tomorrow to North Carolina, and I got a freaking flat tire yesterday. So anyways, I wanted to talk to you guys, and yeah. Beautiful Nady. Hey Leo girl. Thank you, Allegedly. So yeah, you guys know I'm not gonna just talk about a subject, crazy mama, hey girl. Unless I feel like very interested in it. When Kylie's case was kind of was very popular, a lot of people were interested in it. I had interest in parts, but I want to talk about this fire cam. I want to talk about what it means. I want to hear from you guys about this, and then talk about whatever else just for a minute, just a quick chat. But yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely looking for your opinions. I think that Kylie's case brought a lot of people to true crime YouTube, or to true crime in general, that maybe were not interested in it before, because if you pay attention and you watch panels about it and stuff, there's often a lot of people up there, you can just tell this is not what they like. They just don't know a lot about it, right? So there was a lot of interest in it from people outside of the true crime realm, and a lot inside of it too, which meant you're going to have a lot of YouTubers using the case to get views. Some that actually do care and are interested, but you'll find a lot that just don't. They're just doing it because they know it's what people want to see. So I think it's really interesting that now we have this fire cam footage, which shows her car. I mean, it shows a vehicle going straight towards the water. You can see the headlight go out. If you haven't seen Gray Hughes, he lightened a overlay and put it at like 70% where you could see through it. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Lucia. And you can see a lot better. So definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it. But anyways, I mean, we can see as soon as her phone went off that night, her car went in. She couldn't have climbed out the windows. Water would have been gushing in. It would have sunk within like a minute. And she probably went to the back, to the air pocket, scared to death. I know people have other conspiracies and stuff, which is fine. It's just, I'm starting, like, you already we see this, right? This is like pretty definitive. Hey, Elsa. And you're still seeing, hey, that Michelle. Hey, Jen. You're still seeing, hey, Katie. Hey, beautiful. You're still seeing people go live. The access to the camera is now conveniently not accessible. That is weird. But I saw a live today called Who Killed Kylie? I don't know, you guys. My opinion is unpopular. I even disagree with some of my friends. I know that the family, there's some weird stuff. Don't get me wrong, but also just feel bad for them, you know. Hey, Texas Tiffany. And I had a lot. It was criminality here. Criminality. Hey, beautiful. So yeah, I had a lot of suspicion too, especially when Jagger was cleared and Sammy wasn't. And just other little things. Like at times I would be suspicious, but now it's kind of like, I don't know. It just sucks to see like what YouTube does to some of these cases. Like, I love the creators that are truly interested in it, that are talking about it because they care and they really are, but then there's going to be 10 times that many that are just gross. Hey, Britt, you can come up. I'd love for you to come up. I've just like, no, hadn't planned this. I'm sitting here packing up all my stuff at the house, and I got Bentley and Emily here, so I can't have to go dump. Like, I had a whole car full of trash, and I'm just sitting here kind of bored, so I figured I'd talk to you guys. You want to come up? Look into the 20-month-old Quentin Simon case. Is that the one you covered the other night when I was in there? I think I fell asleep watching you. He's really, really cute. Here. Let's see. Hold on, let me find the guest. I'm on my phone. I never do it on the phone anymore. Yeah, this was just like, I want to know what other people think about the fire cam and everything. I just find it so interesting. I'd love to hear Teresa, too, on what you think about the fire cam and stuff. Phone won't shut off as soon as it hits water. That's weird. See, my iPhone did, but it had a crack in it. I'm curious if her phone had a crack, because I don't know. Oh, he is so cute. Now, Chasing Truth just posted like a thing from, it's like a someone who's suspicious of like her own family member. Is that the same case? Because it didn't say. I don't know the mom's name. I personally feel they cut off the fees because those cameras aren't built specifically for anything. Oh, Britt. Hey,
Hey, beauty.
what you doing?
Oh, girl. Digging. I was looking through some research on Debbie's case, and then I saw you were live, and I was like, she's talking about Kylie. Oh, God, I'm going to go over there. So
Yay!
here
Well,
I
yeah, I
am.
want to get your opinion, because you are like,
Oh,
you're one that
God.
has been genuinely interested and covered the case out of that. So I really want to know what you think. And then let me see. I wanted to say hi, LFT. Hi, Cray Cray. Yeah, he's very cute. So what do you think, Britt, about the fire cam and all that? Like, what are you thinking?
I have had a tug of war with my soul over this. So I, I do think that I think it's probably her, okay? Now I do. But how in the heck did law enforcement not have this? Or if they do, if they did get it, which no, there's no way they did. They let her stay in the lake for 2 weeks. There's no way. So how would you, law enforcement, not know about this when it's cameras that I imagine are government owned because they're fire cams? That should have been the first thing they pulled. Secondly, uh, I do believe it's her, but at the same time, it doesn't really prove much else. We don't know if that's her behind the wheel. We don't know if
That's
much of anything after that, except for it looks like her car went in the water at that moment.
yeah.
But
So
there's
that police department just freaking. I mean, wow, they suck.
yeah,
Like
right.
they failed every step of the way. I just can't get over that. And I hope that, oh, I just hope they feel like the fools that they are. Because you're right. If they would have thought about those cameras being there, they just must have, I don't know. They're just dumb. They're idiots. I don't know what the deal is there. Or maybe they're purposely doing it. But if you would have thought about that, you could have watched and at least gotten an idea if any vehicles went into the water.
Hmm.
Because
Well,
you can't see that well, but on the ones with the overlay, like you can see a little better on that one.
I've struggled with it because those kids they do a lot of off roading and like they literally will drive their cars through like 3 feet of water. So
Right.
you can, and if you zoom in, like Zav's been doing it a lot. I've been looking at it. Amanda's Vita. if you kind of zoom in and you look at all of these lights, because clearly, and one thing I want to remind everybody of this too. In my humble opinion, one thing that this does prove is that there was a bunch of people leaving at 12:30. You see a ton of cars driving out of there. So that's weird to me that they all would take off at one time and that party allegedly went on throughout the night. But
Well,
you can see what looks like the kids doing donuts and stuff out there. Like it really
right.
does look like it.
Which it looked like it in those pictures of the like beside the water. You could see their tracks. They were definitely doing some donuts and stuff like that. But I just
Yeah.
wonder that how could they not see her go in? Now we know that that person
Yeah.
didn't call 911, seeing the headlights and all that. I don't even know about that, and I I don't trust a lot of these people. I just when a case blows up like this, you're going to have so many people that are doing it for reasons that are not the right reasons or talking about even attention, you know what I mean? So coming out of
Yes.
the woodwork for everything. Do you remember in the Watts case when that guy pretended that he knew who was it, Shanann, and he had photoshopped those photos and everything, and like I think he yeah, I think he went on Kelly and Amber or something. Do you remember that?
I do.
It's
I
crazy.
do know that.
Nuts.
And I'm seeing a lot of similarities with the community, with what happened in Watts too. Since this camera has come out, there's a split down the middle. My chat is usually so calm, like yours. In the last few days, there's people fighting like crazy over if it was her, if it wasn't her. So, guys, we officially have our NK moment for Kylie, whether it's, that camera proves it or it doesn't. Um,
Like
it's honestly, you
the
know how
outside
like
of the Watts house or whatever.
yeah, or you know how NK did it or she didn't, she's guilty or she's not guilty. It's the same vibe with this camera now. It's like, does that, because a lot of people are like, well, case closed. It was an accident. I
Right.
don't go that far because, yes, it does look like that's her car going into water, but that's all we got. Like, it doesn't prove how, who, what, or anything. So,
Yes. See, for me, I feel like 75%. I feel there's room for error, obviously, and lots of conspiracy. However, I don't like it because it leaves so much space for people to be really nasty and take advantage of these situations. You know what I mean? And just now, what is the Truckee Way? Is that like I saw a thing from Harsh Reality? Is like he made merch that says the Truckee Way, and it has "Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil." So is it some like don't talk about like
Oh my God, Allie. I've been breaking that down too with the mass I got mass exodus on my mind. I've been breaking that down too. The Truckee Way. Basically, if you go through there and you read it, there are a few things that throws up some red flags for me. They have six fundamental principles that they live by, and one of those fundamental principles is basically in a shorter way of saying it, whatever your problem is my problem too. So if one person has an issue, it's the community's issue to solve. There's another there's another one that really bugs me and that I continue to look over, and it's the principle that we don't focus on the thing that the person did, but we focus on the person. So to me, yeah, that can be taken 100 different ways, but the way that it sounds in my mind is okay, so if someone commits a crime, we're not going to focus on the crime that person commits. We're going to focus on what kind of person they are.
oh okay.
And just
I
go
have
and
to
read
look
it
that
if
up.
you
Yeah.
haven't.
Um.
Um, it sounds like almost like a communist way of living.
Weird. See, it sounds kind of like culty. I don't know, but um just even the vibe, there's weird vibes around the family. I won't don't but I can't help but still feel bad for mom. But I will say, Britt, there's one thing that I just thought of. So AWP, they're these respectable, they have done a lot as far as finding people. They have very good reputations. They don't get into a ton of this clickbait or drama or any of that, and they come out and say, this looks suspicious. They had already met with the tow truck driver, and you can't tell me they hadn't seen the dash cam. I really am curious about that. Had they seen it? I want to know more about that, because they took such a big step to say, like, this seems suspicious. It's really weird, because they're not usually that, you know what I
Oh,
mean? They do that.
one of Doug's interviews, he definitively says, I've quoted this so many times, if you believe that the tow truck driver is not credible, you're 100% wrong. And he also says that if we play that footage, that, the video that we've withheld, if we were to put that out right now, it would heavily, heavily compromise this investigation. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
That's why I've struggled with this so much, because you're right. AWP is a very,
Oh,
yes, absolutely. So, do you think that they would risk their reputation and their good standing with the community? I don't know.
I don't think so. No, I believe they had to have truly thought that, because they don't need it click. They're going to get like views and clicks, and they'll be fine no matter what. They're not like, so I don't see them doing, I just don't. But Melissa, I got to say, that's something I thought about since that came out. I thought, oh my God, like, imagine her mother. Not only does she have to watch it, she didn't get it from police, most likely. So, how pissed off would you be as mom? I don't know. That would really tick me off.
Girl, I would be demanding that every one of those people would be forced to resign, and for them to do a complete uh cleanup of
Just
that
clean.
that the police force, and who, especially the ones that's calling the shots here,
You know
because you
what?
gotta, they said that there's an article that come out. Sleuthy's got it on her Twitter, y'all, where it was, I want to say it was August the 10th or 11th it come out. They said they were casing the bottom of Stampede, Boca, and Prosser Lake. Not just swimming around looking, Allie. They were casing the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something weird with that. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Like, there is a lot of corruption that happens. People don't realize it. And it could be like not even about this. They could be trying to cover up something else, or who knows? We don't really know. And it can be really toxic, though, getting like into conspiracy, like getting like that when we're dealing with like people's lives, mamas, little, you know what I mean? It just feels weird. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know today I saw someone live just right before I went live, and their title was "Who Killed Kylie Rodney?" And I'm like, oh my God, this will go on forever. It's going to go on forever.
If the police had this footage, that would mean that they let her sit in the lake for 2 weeks. I mean, so no matter which way you look at it, with the police in this whole investigation, they look awful regardless, because that would mean that she sat
That's
in the
true.
lake for 2 weeks, had to have outsiders come in the community and save, not save her, Lord, but find her, and
Yeah, and
then
fire department helped in the search. So surely to God they thought about the cameras. Like, it's not just police doing these searches. Even some, or any of these cases, there's fire department, there's, they bring in a ton of people. Mm. Do you have any footage of the fire department searching for her?
no.
I would like to see if we went back in any of the old videos or photos, if you see any, because that would be another like huge red flag, because surely they know about those cameras. Like, we know police know too. Anyone doing any kind of emergency job should know, but I don't know. How
Well,
can
you
you
want
make
me to
all this was
tell you something else that's going to infuriate you a little bit? We
okay?
were we were looking through the Truckee Way last night, and so it's a whole website about the community, you know, and they pride themselves on state of the art, high tech diving equipment.
Ooh, for where do they dive in that lake usually, or is there somewhere else? Or
Well, they're one of their core values they're built around is safety. Because it's a mountainous range, and the terrain is rough or whatever. So if you go look on there, it'll tell you like they even have like lists of supplies that you need to have throughout the year in case of disasters and things like that. So they have dive teams for, in case people are in trouble in the water. And
Right.
they're saying that they pride themselves on state of the art, high tech dive equipment. And then not only that, I had a person who is a local at Truckee, and I've vetted him. He's been to Prosser and got me pictures and things like that, RT. But he
Yeah,
said that one of the common misconceptions that people make about Truckee is that their police force doesn't have the proper equipment they need. He said they have high tech everything. The places they're thriving over there as far as what they need and resources. So that kind of bugs me a lot too.
that's crazy. That's just crazy. Even there's just like I could sit here. You and I have talked offline. There are some things that I could pick apart with this, but it just wouldn't be. I just couldn't do it here, and that's where I gotta ask Brittany. Like, where's that line that it's too far? Like I said, there was creator this morning. Who killed Kylie Rodney? Like, when? What in your opinion? What's your opinion on that? And I know you've caught a lot of heat for your coverage. I
Mhm.
want to say at least I know this, you are at least very interested in the case. You know what I mean? That's the thing that's different to me. Teresa, interested in the case. There's some people that cover it that are not actually interested. They just do it because it's popular. You guys were doing it anyways and it got popular and you know what I mean? So,
Uh,
but what do you think about that? Like,
well, just to say real quick too, anybody who knows me, you, Teresa, or anybody I talk to on here, this we talk about this privately all the time too. Like this case, I talk about whether I'm online or I'm not. But Um, so for me, it is hard, and trust me, I've struggled with this because I am a mama, and I know that it would kill me to hear people talking about my kid, but at the same time, there's so many unanswered questions. There's so many inconsistencies and lies. I just said this to someone I was talking to before I come on here. This is one of the most botched investigations I've ever seen in my life. The only one that tops this, Allie, is Sean's case, in my opinion, because they did nothing. But this is one of the most botched cases I've ever seen. And to me, to answer when's too far, if
mm,
law enforcement comes back and they say that this is an accident, and she, whatever, tells us the circumstances, the autopsy proves that she had water in her lungs, you have to walk away. I'm not
okay,
saying maybe not cover it once or twice a year just for the
or
sake of
happen or
covering
something.
the case, but this full, Kylie every day, if you're still doing it at that point, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem, in
Okay,
my opinion.
let me ask you this because I thought about this morning because even I have been a little bit hard on Sammy. I thought it was really weird that Jagger was cleared and she hasn't, and the internet's been hard on her. This girl has gotten a lot. She's 18 years old. We know what it's like to be 18. That's like a really tough time, anyways. But what if she's totally innocent? What if, like, I know that that video doesn't show this, but let's just pretend for a second it did. Like it showed that Kylie, you could see like people in it, and it shows Kylie driving. Like, then where do we assess the damage to the young girl? You know what I mean? Because I thought about that this morning, just as far as me personally, and I'm like, damn, I kind of feel like there was a case like back in the day. Shane, it was Heidi Broussard, and
Yeah,
everyone blamed her fiance. Remember that?
yeah.
And like, yeah, because he was like reminding people of Chris Watts. And I don't know, you just start to think about stuff like that. Like, and how do we be really careful not to do damage to people that aren't? And also, it's like a human life was lost, so it's a big deal. So I don't know. I don't know.
I think that is a hard one because that comes into true crime.
Yeah.
But I think that we probably do need to have that conversation and reflect how far is too far. For me personally, and I'm sure I probably do go a little too hard on Sammy, but I don't dig into her life and what she's doing every day and all of that. Like, I solely
Right.
focus on the
What she
interview she
put
gave,
out.
the words she spoke, what
Right.
she shared publicly, right? I've never even went through this girl's social medias. So, not saying that I'm doing everything right either. I know I'm making mistakes here and there too, but I'm just saying, like, we probably do need to have that conversation.
Yeah.
We got to try to remember that there is a such thing as, you know, innocent until proven guilty.
Oh yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And remember we talked about this like when it started, like some, and allegedly said this. They said, I've been saying Sammy was just wanting to be internet famous from the day her name came up.
yeah,
Remember we talked about like what if she just wants attention? That's why she's, oh, I'm the best friend, because they people do that. Even if my friend passed away of cancer, and there were people at her funeral crying that I never seen her speak to ever.
right.
Like,
It
and so,
happens.
yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. It's a conversation that needs to be had, but it's like going to take a lot of thought because it's really important.
Yeah. But then it does come into play when you're doing cases, because what do?
Yeah.
You focus on the people that's closest to the victim and work your way out. I don't know. It's a hard one. I want to, Tattoos had mentioned something, and I just want to,
Yeah,
if
go
it's
ahead.
okay. Tattoo, you're right. She will probably have water in her lungs at this point anyway, because she was underwater allegedly for 2 weeks. But I talked to a couple of medical people that are in the medical field, and the way that they explain it to me is, even if she's got water in her lungs from merely being under for so long, they will still be able to tell the difference between if she drowned or if the water went in later.
Over time, I wondered
Yeah.
that too. I didn't see her question, but yeah. But where is Sammy now? So she's at college, right?
Yeah, she goes to UC Irvine, I think.
Okay. Oh, I
Oh,
don't
and
know.
that's another thing, Ellie. She is at college, but she's putting out these. I've seen these all over. She's putting out these TikTok videos where she's wearing the same glasses she had on at Kylie's memorial, with a black SF hat, and just like
Oh,
all up in the camera dancing, and just
like that
almost
boy was wearing or whatever that the tow truck driver,
yeah.
right?
So, like, girl, if you want people to stop talking about you, you might want to kind of take a few steps back and evaluate what you're doing, because she's not helping her cause at all.
Maybe she don't want anybody to stop. You
I
know,
I definitely can see that. I get this opinion of her that she's, you know, always in the front of the line. She's always the one to talk the loudest in the room, and they
yeah, and
said she was a good organizer.
sometimes like sorry, I'm trying to fix my vape and refill it, but sometimes like, oh fuck, I lost my train of thought now that I start talking about my vape. I'll if I
Yes,
remember.
Alex.
Allison thinks the video is fake. That's really interesting. Says she's mocking us. Oh yeah, sometimes people think that like bad attention is also, it's still feels good because they're still getting attention. And I
Yeah.
just wonder though, like, how do you see what's happening? I personally feel, I do think it's an accident. I wonder if, um, I think that it was accidental, but I think that people are still guilty of not helping her when they should have, like leaving her to drive alone or maybe seeing, like, I don't know. I just wonder about that. I still lean towards accident though. But yeah, I still think people are like, how do you, people are guilty of being really bad friends and being like, how do you see what Sammy's done and then go become her best friend at college?
Girl,
Yeah.
in
Sorry,
one of the
at
videos,
a party you gonna leave my ass. Like,
yeah, I'm
and that
not kidding. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it happens a lot in college.
There's definitely some lessons that can be learned from this. With my daughter, I've talked to her many times about the buddy system, and how, I don't care how badly you've messed up, or you think that I'll be mad at you. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you drank or you did something that you weren't supposed to do, call me and let me come get you because, and I won't even, I'll try my best not even be mad. I just, and never leave your friend. This girl sitting there talking about, I asked her if she would give me a ride home because I wanted to stay later. But then I decided that she was too drunk to drive. So I found me another ride home. But she's smart. She's smart,
Yeah,
It
you
doesn't
going
matter.
think about this. Sammy's like 2 years older. You should have been looking out for her. This is like she's 16 years old. I don't know. I don't.
Mm-mm.
Per AWPA was potential last sighting, so that's why they searched Boca first. Wait, oh man, the chat just jumped. Okay. I do not think that new footage is fake. I think it's a real video, but due to video distortion, due to distance and bright lights, there's no way to say it was her. Light distortion. So I don't know. I was wondering, does anybody else want to give their opinion or come up here with us and give your opinion? I would like to know what, like, especially, I don't know. I think, Britt, don't you think that this case brought a lot of people to true crime that were not like watching it all the time, or maybe like occasionally, but they weren't doing like the YouTube thing? I just think it brought in like a new wave of people. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, which is
it has
really.
the Gabby Petito effect for sure.
Yes, there you
Mm.
go. Exactly. And people come to it that never really watch true crime, which
Well,
is really dangerous when you have all these conspiracies because they, they get even more like kind of tied up than like people who are in it all the time.
yeah. It's also revealed a lot of things to me too about like how you're saying how far is too far or like the amount of I don't want to say hatred, but heat that people are taking around this case. And I get it. I do. I get it. The mom come out, she asked everybody to stop talking about it. But how many times did the Ruseks ask everybody to stop talking about the case, the Watts case?
Yep.
I mean, how many times have people wanted uh social media to give it up and stop talking about a specific case and no one ever did? I have to just be, it's like Teresa said. I was clapping in my kitchen for her the other day. She was saying, this is true crime. This is what we do. I mean, so does that mean that we have to stop covering every case that involves a child? Does that mean we have to stop covering every case for that matter? I mean, I don't know. It really
No,
bothers
I
me.
think we don't, but I think we just be really careful and we think about, especially suspects that are underage, because I think that having the internet against you at a very vulnerable time could be really detrimental at that age. Not really
Yeah.
even Sammy's age, just think like even younger, 16. I think that Sammy's age too, but I just
Yeah.
think it brings a whole new conversation about that stuff. Hey, allegedly.
Hey, allegedly.
Hey guys. Yeah, so one of the things that I didn't do throughout this whole mess was talk a lot about Jagger because he was a minor. So
Yeah.
left his name out of it. Didn't think he was guilty. Still don't. Sammy, she's 18. Never thought that she was guilty. I just think she found this an opportune time to become internet famous because Mags didn't come up. Kate didn't come up. None of them said much. They only came up when she came up. And she was the first one, even though she was just their party friend. So that's just my opinion on that. And with the video distortion, those cameras aren't super duper cameras. They're regular cameras, probably 4K. But remember, if you're taking a picture with a digital camera and it doesn't reach a certain length, a certain viewpoint in the horizon, you can still capture it. But when you try to zoom in, you can't see anything. That's due to the distortion. So ultimately, I feel that the video is real, 100%. But those videos aren't used to see the fire itself. It's to see a potential ignition point. So when you see all those lights, you notice all the other cars that have really strong lights, probably trucks, SUVs, they're bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Hers should have been everywhere. You should see it on the water. You should see it on every single tree. She didn't swerve, didn't do anything. The vehicle just went straight like it was on a, concrete road.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what if that was somebody that was on a quad towing somebody that's in an inner tube that has a light, and they just whipped them into the water, and then when the light went out, they tipped over? We don't
Look,
know if that's the case,
yeah,
because it's visual distortion. Nobody can see it. And plus, if you notice, the light that everybody's pointing at is floating. Like, it's not really on the ground. It's like in the air. So when I viewed it a bunch of times, zoomed in as much as I could, and I was just like, really? Everybody's
yeah,
saying this is her car? Because remember, it turtled, it flipped over, right?
exactly.
You would
Thank
see the
you.
light hit the water underneath. So
Yeah.
if
Yes,
that was the case, all of those lights that are from all the other vehicles hitting all the trees in the distance, why is her car the only one that doesn't do all of these things that everybody does? Now, I'm not saying for all the people out there that are 50-50 or 100% that it was an accident. For me, seeing it just tells me it could be literally anything at
Right.
that point. And it
But
doesn't.
the time, like, that's a very specific time. That's the thing that gets me. I'm like,
But
wait a minute.
we also don't know what iPhone she has. The newer iPhones are waterproof. If there's a crack, yeah, there could have been leakage, but it
yeah,
would stay on. That phone, and this is why the police said it was powered off. They legitimately said that. They didn't say, oh, it probably got turned off because it died or because it went in
Right.
the
no,
water. They said it was powered down. Now,
Okay.
yes,
they've messed up this case from day one.
yes,
First and foremost, if a girl's missing, they didn't have a message like the Venmo and the Debbie Collier case. That right there is FBI territory. It wasn't over county lines. That right there would be FBI. But I just think, honestly, it's one of those, and I'm not making fun of anybody and where they live. There are certain villages, certain towns that are not like any other city that we're accustomed to.
yes.
Yeah.
Well said. I said the same thing. That was when I was explaining how these kids go in the water. That's what they do. They've got these, big ATVs, and they've got these SUVs that they drive in like 3 feet of water all the time. And I think that that's what they were doing that night when we see in that footage. But allegedly makes a really good point, Allie.
I
When
love
the car goes in the water, it bogs down. You
well,
never see those lights really move, and
when
that's always bugged me.
okay, two things. When would the lights go down? And I had the 11 Pro, the iPhone 11 Pro, and it was cracked, and I dropped it straight into the ocean at my like right in my mom's front yard, and got it. My little boy was actually swimming. He grabbed it and got it right out, and it turned off pretty quickly, and it will never. It's never turned back on, even though they're waterproof. Because yes, and it was really badly cracked.
Well,
Right,
Um,
right. Well,
the
there's
car
one
was
thing I
not.
do want to say to everybody, if it's cool. One, everybody here, we're all speculating. This is all theory. None of us are police. None of us have an inside source except for me. No, in other cases, not this one. Um, Nobody is the know all be all, not even me. When I drop my information, it's facts that are countering something somebody's saying that doesn't fit with the exact evidence that's out there. So whether we agree, disagree, we should all be kind, hear what everybody has to say, respond if you have evidence countering it. But if you don't, and it's just your theory or your speculation, say, well, the way I see it is this, so we have differing opinions. But I just see too much fighting, too much arguing, and everybody hating each other, when in reality, we're all in all of these groups for a reason, because we love true crime and we have opinions.
Yeah. You know what? You're so right about that. It's like, but that's what I'm saying. Some of these cases that bring people from all over, they're not as used to it. If you're more into true crime, I feel like you're a little more used to it, even though there's still fights. Like Watts out, like the people used to fight over the Watts case all the time. But I just think, I don't know. I think it's real. It's just a different opinion. There's no reason to hate somebody because they don't agree with you. You might learn something from them, even if they're wrong. Hear them out, because that's the only time you're going to learn is when you listen and you're hearing things. If you think you already know everything, I don't know. I think that you can learn from anybody. You can learn from the dumbest idiot out there. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you. Thank you for saying that, because people call me that all the time. Thank
No,
you.
Allegedly. Well, that was exactly what I mean about. I mean, there's been arguing even before the video, but seriously, since this video's dropped, oh my goodness, the tension has ramped up, and there are a lot of people that get angry.
Well, you
And
Oh
said
yeah.
your chat was fighting really bad, right? Like,
yes, there was somebody that got mad at me just for simply putting it out there that these kids drive through water. And all I'm doing is trying to look at things from every angle because allegedly said it perfectly. Yes, it does look like something's going into the lake, but what we're dealing with are light and we're a bunch of glares. There's one point on that video, Allie, where it looks like a car crosses the canal because there's glares. It's very grainy and it's hard to really see much.
I mean, not only that, we only know the depth. So the thing about the vehicle and why so many people are arguing, because there's a lot of people that are gearheads. They're totally into cars and totally into quads, trikes, everything, motorcycles. Everybody who is knows that when you hit water, there's an impact. Very simple. It's immediate. The deceleration meter is what triggers the airbags. So we should have seen her airbags, first off. Should have been floating all over the place in the video when AWP went down. Second, due to the impact, you're going to slow down. Now, that's not even including the mud or the sand and the sand turning into mud in the water when she hits. So the reason people are so torn about this is because you would have to have a very high impact in order to glide out 50 feet, actually about 40 feet, and then turtle over and the car would land, which would bring her to 50 feet. Prior to that, 25 feet is where the shelf is. So if it started to sink within 30 seconds, it should have landed on the shelf and not gone anywhere else, meaning her car being approximately 4 foot tall, it should have been visible, very visible.
well, what about when it like nosedives right there at the, what if it nosedives at the end of the shelf and then kind of flips over forward?
See, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see the reflections in the water.
Well, no,
Water is
I was just asking, like, is that possible? I didn't see that.
water is magnifying glass, basically. So if you take a sandwich bag, you put water in it, you are able to start a fire if you're in the woods. So that's a safety tip in case you get lost. Everybody, make sure you have sandwich bags because it magnifies things. So her headlights should have magnified and it should have been all over. You would have seen a dim light hitting the under the water. For me, I'm not sure. I looked at it, but it was so far away, visual distortion, everything. But for me, in the authorities can't come out and say, here's proof we were right, it was an accident, if they didn't have the image. Obviously, they didn't have the image. Now, where I live, I'm in a city. I'm near Albany, New York. So if anybody looks at a map, it's not big forested area. I'm near it. I didn't say I'm in it. So if you go to Albany, you're not going to find me if you're trying to hurt me. But if you go up to the Adirondacks, that's where you see a lot of forest. So people in the Adirondacks, in the Catskills, their sheriff's department, fire department, and rescue teams all are totally different than here. Here, we have an ambulance show up with a fire truck. That's basically what happens. And then they either take you away or they just say, well, you're fine, you can stay. Or they take you if you demand it. But if you're in the Catskills, the first thing they do is they say, okay, get our fire footage from the forest rangers, get this from the ambulance departments. We need every video and surveillance taken. So for them to live in that area and for the police not to say, hey, isn't there a fire monitoring camera over there? Can you pull that footage? Speaks wonders. It just shows how lazy they were.
Oh my
Yes.
God. I just think, actually, I've seen Duty Run call them out for bad police work, and I think that needs to be one of the main takeaways because they need to fix some stuff. Seriously, they don't have a damn clue what they're doing, or they're lazy and they don't care. But either
Well,
it's ridiculous.
well, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say too, like, because I've analyzed, we've watched probably 10 to 12 videos now of cars sinking with the windows down, and it takes seconds.
Yeah,
It's
30
only a
seconds
matter of
max or
seconds.
40 seconds.
Yeah. I think from what I'd heard, it was like 32 seconds.
But it also depends on the condition. I mean, think about that. It was like 5 to 6 feet deep, right? In that shelf, the 25 feet. Her car is not 25 feet long. And that light seemed to go out if you were gauging it from the distance that we were supposedly looking at it, the car would have been like a pin tip. So her car literally floated almost all the way across that little bay,
Yeah.
which would not equal 50 feet. So, and that's why I said light distortion with all of that. It's a bright light on a very far camera. So you're going to see the light because it's at night. It's bright. If it was during the day, you probably wouldn't even see it if you turn the headlights on. So that distance, the distortion from the distance to the light is really hard to distinguish how fast they were going, how big the vehicle is, how many people were there, how far it actually drifted out, when it impacted the water, if it flipped over. There's just too many factors when I see it that I have to say it would just be like somebody seeing a video camera of the JFK assassination from the corner store down the street. It would be literally impossible to know what occurred.
Hold up. How do we know law enforcement didn't get fire cam images? They got other cams. Well, I think we just assumed that, right? Because she was there for 2 weeks, because they haven't put it out to show. There's been a lot of, they could shut up a lot of rumor and speculation if they had it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, here's the thing. If law enforcement had that, and then they thought, well, what if there was foul play? Somebody gave her something and she died and they were trying to cover it up. They would investigate it to a certain point. And I think that point would have been roughly a week and a half to 2 weeks after it happened. They would have then released it was an accident. We know this because we have footage that we're not releasing as of yet because we're still investigating the party scene itself. We're not sure what exactly happened to her. They would have already went into the water and pulled her vehicle out within days. So we know that they didn't assume she was in the water. They only sent divers who admittedly said they did the basic job possible, swimming along the top, looking underwater, but you would still see the car. Doesn't matter how much, when you're a swimmer, you would know. But they admitted some people don't want to. So whether one person went and just missed it completely because they swam around it, that's a possibility.
Allegedly, how do you feel about the mom and like the people that have been accused and all the thing? Do you feel that? How do you feel about that? Like, the damage that it could do to an 18-year-old child to be accused of something they haven't done, or the mom's perspective? What? Because that's kind of something that's important. I think it is to me, anyways. Because I always want to try to be like thoughtful of everybody, unless they're guilty. But
so if I was Sammy, and this is just me speaking very straightforward, I wouldn't have gone around making up stories that we were best friends. I would have said I'm just a friend, because basically that's all they were, just friends, not best friends or people that hung out. I would have kept it short and simple. I'm not sure what occurred that night, but I know for a fact that I did speak to her. We went our separate ways. I left with John Doe, who I was just going to hook up with tonight because we were getting high. I might as well admit it because everybody will know there were drugs there. We went and got high. We ended up hooking up. I don't know what happened to her, but I'm truly, truly wanting to find my friend. That's as simple as you keep it. You don't come out and say, I'm organizing everything. I'm the one you need to talk to. Only call me. Don't talk to authorities. It's a safety zone. That's shade. There's shade there. And the reasons could be you told everybody you're her best friend. So what's the best way to become the person's best friend? Talk to her real friends. They'll give you information and you'll come forward and go, oh, one thing we forgot about, there's a bull. No, it's a ram, but it's a bull. No, and it's on the back. A real friend would know that she either liked ram trucks, she liked rams, which a lot of people do. I'm a sloth person, which is why you see a sloth on my thing. But instead, she 100% was like, it's a bull. And we talked about it. She's literally telling everybody, I'm only finding out stuff only true friends know because I have these secret groups.
Yep.
So and now it made her look shady. I mean, when you think about it, people are going to point at you. I mean, imagine if Alex and allegedly or Brittany all said, well, we're best friends with allegedly and his real name is Scott and we know everything about him or her. Well, everybody thought I was a girl, which is another reason why I came up on panel, because so many people are like, you go girl, when I say something.
I'm sorry if I have, because I thought you were a girl. I'll have to.
I'm a guy. Well, it's because I'm gender neutral. I'm gender neutral when I speak, and that's intentional. It's not because I'm a straight male, but I don't want to offend gay people. I don't want to offend any racial people. I don't want to offend any trans. So I speak
Yeah.
gender neutral at all times.
I try
Okay.
with you actually because, well, I knew already, but also with some other people, I'll say they instead of he or she. Now, sometimes, of course, you make mistakes, but and I like that. I appreciate that because some people do get offended, and you don't want to. Why hurt people's feelings like for no reason? That doesn't feel good.
Right.
Mhm.
And
And
also,
I think
what
that's
I
great.
say isn't an attack on anybody. And I know a lot of people feel that way sometimes. I only speak in direct statements. I don't go into, well, you're wrong because of this. And if you ever see a comment where I put in a direct statement, I'm not attacking you now because you understand, well, if I was saying something against you, I'd say you're entirely wrong. Instead, I put in the statement, well, because law enforcement has this, that's why that idea wouldn't be possible.
Right.
So I'm not attacking anyone when I use a direct statement, just throwing that out there.
Um,
Well,
at 18, social media. Think about this at 33, like the first time I was kind of attacked on social media. Now it's not as much, but not as hard, but it's hard to go through that. It really, really is. I mean, even shoot, that video I made last week, you people that are not used to being attacked online, it can cause all kinds of issues for them. Yeah.
yeah, it's not easy to. I've always told you this, Allie. It's public humiliation,
Yeah.
and it is not a fun thing to go through.
See,
But
It's
the
I
the
way
was
worst.
I
thinking,
handle it and the way I'm going to handle it when I go live on my channels is going to be the same way I do it now. If somebody calls me rude or they say that I am wrong and 100% incorrect, I'll say, okay, since I'm rude and 100% incorrect, I'm going to leave the chat. Well, on my lives, if that occurs, it'll start happening that way. So people will learn, well, if somebody's attacking them, we are going to have to remove, the mods will have to remove that person like immediately. Because if I have to end a live after 3 minutes because somebody starts saying some, really bad things, I am not going to take it personal. I'm just going to bow out of the conversation.
Right.
I'm
Well,
going
when
to
are you
find your channel. I had no idea you had a channel. Allegedly, I
I
would have
just
been.
started it.
I ask, when are you
Oh
going to
my
go
god!
and stuff? I think
Um,
that people are asking for your link in the chat. So,
Yeah.
if you go to Debbie Collier's, there's 3 large groups for Debbie Collier. One of them granted me permission to already post my links, and I've already put up my merch that I've created over the past week. Not had made yet, but just ideas, and I wanted people's input on it. Um,
cool.
Also, the other 2 groups, it'll be 9,700 people total that would be viewing what I post. So on the other 2 channels, I'm just waiting for the go ahead. And once I do, every link for everything from TikTok, Twitter, all the way into, and you already know I have an Instagram. I messaged you on that, Alex.
Yeah.
Um,
And I need to I'm really bad at checking Instagram, but I'll go do it.
I
That
no, it's
guess.
all good.
I
Like
only talk
Can
to
I,
you?
like 1 or 2 people there. I use Facebook Messenger like all the time, but Instagram, you know,
I
a
work for the appeals unit for the Affordable Care Act. So ultimately, during my course of the day, I only have to focus on certain things. So I have all the time in the world to flash over every single social media platform there is. And of course, work on my video that I'm putting out very soon, probably this week. It'll be after Monday. It'll be done by then. And it's about Lori Vallow.
Can you email me by any chance?
Ooh,
Because I'll start dropping your link in my chat.
Oh,
I'm so
I'm not
happy.
in these groups so that people could say, "Look, here's this link. Go like this page." I only want 100 subscribers so I could change my channel URL. That's all I really care about.
Ooh, I didn't know
Um,
you could do that at 100. I wonder
uh,
how people do that.
yeah, it's 30 days of having an active channel, posting a
Mhm.
photograph, no matter what it is. It just has to be a photo and 100 subscribers.
Oh
Okay.
wow! Can
And
I do something real quick, Allie? Because I just kind of feel like it's important.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so you just a while ago you highlighted a comment that said Megan with a bunch of red flags.
Yes.
Okay, so I totally 1,000% agree with that. I do. I've actually spoke out about how everybody needs to be careful regarding Megan and what she's saying because there are a lot of red flags. But someone come to me yesterday and they told me that Megan's in a very dark place. I guess she's getting a lot of attacks and stuff online. Um, so I
Well,
I don't ever want to be the cause of somebody being, in depression or whatever is happening with her. I don't know. I don't talk to Megan, but can we just try to refrain from, you
Mm.
know, saying really
Oh,
cool
absolutely.
things about her because they literally come to me directly and said that she's struggling big time.
Okay.
So here's the thing about people calling and claiming they're certain people and claiming they have information about a case. This is the way that I approach every case. I take the main players. Like I'm going to use Debbie Collier, not this case, for example, because out of respect of Kylie's mother and father, who hasn't really come forward and said much, even though he's very animated, um, and because of other people just
Yeah.
pointing
Yeah.
fingers.
Yeah.
So with Debbie Collier's, the first thing I do when I take a case, and it's because I have cork boards, I have whiteboards, and it's not because I'm only about true crime. It's because I'm also a magician. I also play guitar. I also play keyboard. I also break down Sumerian, hieroglyphs and everything. I do everything. So I have all of this stuff, and I take the main players right away. So I would take Steve, Amanda, Andrew, and write their names on a little paper, and each one gets set down separately. Then I take all the hearsay, everything that's going on that's not substantiated by police or any like news reports directly with a police officer's name involved. I put that down, and then I put it with each picture. And if it joins with a couple, I'll actually make it so that there's a conjoining area on my desk. At that point, all the hearsay just gets written down and set off to the side with names on it, who the hearsay is, if it's a neighbor, if it's a friend of the family, whatever. From that point, I'm only looking at the person, the exact evidence that's there, and then any other evidence that pops up later, I start putting on underneath. A lot of people just start saying, oh, that person looks shady. They're shady. They did it. That's the worst way to approach an investigation. And I'm not a cop. I'm not a detective. I was in the military, but no real detective work. I just follow 3 handbooks I have. The first one is from the FBI. Second one is from detectives. The third one is a conjoined, you know, booklet. I have all the files, read through them constantly to make sure I'm doing things right.
Right.
So that should help people. Instead of saying she's a liar or he's a
Yeah.
liar, write it down on a piece of paper, set it aside. And if you're going to create a timeline, don't include it. Or if you do, keep it a different color and say, look, here's a timeline that's factual. Here are all the extra add-ons that are coming from people we're not sure about. This way you're not making somebody feel like, you know, and it doesn't put them in a bad place.
Yes. I
Well,
agree with you, Laura.
I think it's good that
Look,
we even look at all of that because I wish that more creators would. I think that that's why I created my second channel because I wanted to have like a place to talk about stuff that would be offensive to some of the families I talk about, or you know what I mean? Because this is really serious. We're dealing with people who are going through the most tragic events that can even happen in life at all, right? Like missing
yeah,
babies, missing kids. Like it's just really serious. And I think that some people, they watch it at home and it's almost like TV. Even us, YouTubers, and our personal lives, people take it as entertainment, and you can't fault them
yeah,
for that to an extent, but it's not. It's,
yeah,
yeah,
Also, make sure it's 100% fact that you're stating. If it's speculation,
yeah.
do what I do. And if you look at the Debbie Collier groups, you'll see it everywhere. I put one of those flashing red lights and I write speculation alert and then another flashing light. The reason I do that is so people aren't like, you are wrong. And I say, look, it's a
Yeah,
speculation. It's a
right.
theory. Doesn't mean it's right. I mean, I can help you. And I do it in other chats. I'll say, okay,
mhm,
for the people that are on the fence about this or think the other side is right, I'm going to help you out. What if? And then I give them a plausible thing I came up with because I'm creating scenarios for each individual, not just one. I eliminate it for each individual when it becomes too hard to create the story or background for it. I say, well, that can't happen because there's no background. There's nothing proving that this would work. So I just
yeah,
wrinkle that up, set it aside. But I never throw away my notes for any case whatsoever.
yeah.
And Brian Laundrie's still alive. I just had to throw that in there.
I got me a notebook. I'm going old school. I'm not going to type out my notes on a computer. I'm going to write them in a notebook.
I
Good for
always write
you.
mine too.
Good
I
I
for
love
you.
it.
It's easier for me to do it that way. Plus, like
Mhm.
if I'm explaining a case, I need to have like bullet points in front of me. Like for instance, I did a video forever ago on Kendrick Johnson, and I was kind of explaining everything from start to finish. So I had to have it written down in front of me to get it accurate. Now, okay, allegedly, he messaged me on Instagram about Summer Wells. So how long have you been following that case? And
So
yeah.
just so you guys know, I started probably following and digging into true crime when I was in Philadelphia. It might have been even longer before that as a kid without realizing it, because I always wanted to be a PI and I'd, get all these tools. But the first time I ever truly got into first crime hardcore was with Ellen Greenberg. And I was at work when that all came up, and I was telling everybody, there's no way she did this herself. There's absolutely no way. And now, 11 years later, they're reopening the case.
Yeah.
But since then, so I've been through Alexis Sharkey, Summer Wells, Harmony, the child that was found, deceased after the mom went to help her mom when her mom got attacked by a dog and the boyfriend stayed home and said another woman took him. I mean, I've covered all those cases, but I only started speaking recently because there's so many people bashing so many people. And I'm like, okay, here's the evidence. So how did you manage to find out that her next door neighbor's second cousin's friend that lives in a different state but moved north to a different state was the person that did it? And they're like, well, I'm just saying it because a name came up and he there's nothing on him. Well, that doesn't prove that he's a part of it, because I got into a fender bender, which wasn't bad, with a person from 11 years ago. So are you going to say that that person came up here and broke in my house and stole my video camera for no reason? Then
Yeah.
don't accuse somebody.
Well, that's a lot what happens in Summer's case. And everyone who's, I mean, you've seen it with Jody Sue, Fred Hill. I mean, anyone and everyone who's been up there on that hill, they've definitely gotten,
Well,
there's a lot of that. And I
that's
think
that's
because we
that's
have,
why I asked you about the ambience and how the town felt and if you went up there, because if it was me that went up there, I would have my GoPro on, my digital camera on. I would have another mini camera off my shoulder looking to the sides. This way I could see every
yeah,
aspect, and I would have walked from the road straight up to the house. Whether they were there like, this is private property, if anybody was there, I would say,
yeah,
well, I'm
that's
a
what I was
tourist. I'm a tourist from Japan, and because I'm 50% Asian, they'd believe it. I'm from Japan, and I decided I wanted to see houses out here in the middle of nowhere, but I would record how long it would take to get from point A to B and walk around the house. And if nobody caught me, I would definitely just do this on my own for my own personal notes. But
See, I
honestly,
went to the bottom of the driveway and I walked the outline of the property that you can, because the backside is like in the very thick, steep mountains. I mean, this is
right.
steep. You would never imagine. Ben Hill Road is called that because it's a hill. You turn on it and you start going uphill. Their driveway uphill. I mean, it's very steep. I think on video you just don't see the depth. Hey, you guys, quit yelling. I'm on the line.
No, that's totally fine. That was cute, actually. Was that like a child and a pet?
Yeah, Bentley and his cousin Emily. So they're 5 and she just turned 7. They're out here like acting like dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff.
That's
Allie's always babysitting. I promise you. Every time I
so.
talk to her, she's got somebody else's kid.
There is a thing about Summer Wells that everybody's overlooking. So, number one, Hunter, he's just a kid. What do kids do? They make up stuff. They make up grand stories out of nothing. Like, oh, he calls her every like 15 minutes. It's annoying. And then he says, and then he called. And I was kind of like, why is he calling you? Well, he was just going with McDonough, because McDonough is a big time person that's all over the internet. And of course, you're going to sit there. And if you said, nah, man, she just dropped me off, thanks for the pizza, it wouldn't have been worth a pizza. So he's just a kid who sat there and kept talking because that's what he's supposed to do. And things just started to go in directions, and you start to question, dude, you're not flowing. This isn't just coming out. You didn't say, here's a story and tell us. You had to be asked questions. Then you had to think about answers. So he's just an innocent kid everybody was picking on. What?
I went to his house and
Oh,
saw
did you?
him. I saw him within a few feet, and Allie and Grandma, Grandbun, and everybody they were all on the front porch, and
Now,
they were mean. They were.
I have a
mean
question just for you two. So, Alex, how many people in real life that you have met within the past 5 to 10 years like you, just a percentage, like you and dislike you?
Actually, I haven't had like any drama or fights with anyone for at least about 5 or 10 years. I don't have it.
But there
Yeah,
are people that dislike you, right?
Oh, of course, I'm sure, but I don't know that they tell me. Plus, I'm a bit of a like hermit, so I don't like
A recluse like me?
yeah, I'm
Me
like
too.
yeah. I'm a
So
loner.
what about you, Brittany? How many people do you feel within the past 5-10 years, percentage wise, dislike you or like you?
Oh, so I'm like Allie. I keep to myself. So in my real life, zero. So percentage wise, it's a small percentage, a very
Right.
small percentage of
Now,
people.
So,
online people dislike me.
so
Um,
let's hypothetically say that somebody interrogated those people that didn't like you. They're not gonna have anything nice to say, really.
oh
Maybe a
God,
couple of things.
and they're gonna tell complete lies. I've
Right.
heard things said about me on YouTube. Like most things I've heard are just complete lies. Hell, last week I heard that I like committed a hate crime that was a traffic accident. I was under the influence with lots of road rage, and none of that happened.
I think I was on that live. I was listening to you. Then I was like, wow, that's some drama. But
Yeah,
my point is, imagine, Jose came to stay with Hunter and his family, but then Candace pulled him away. Well, there's some real anger there because, you
yeah,
know, it was supposed to be her guy, and suddenly her friend takes her guy.
yes,
And nobody's looking at it like that. They're just like, oh, did you hear what they're saying? That means Candace did it. And then people are
right,
like, well, did you hear about his family talking about him? That means Don did it. Nobody's really looking to say, well, how many kids are taken? Chloe, that's one in Australia. You remember that story where she was taken from a tent and her parents
yeah,
woke up and everybody blamed the boyfriend and blamed the mom for
yeah,
weeks. And then the supermarket said, hey, this guy's buying stuff he never bought before. You should look into it. And police found the girl.
yeah, yep,
So anybody could take anybody, no matter. And what was that? Like, it was more than miles and miles away. It was like probably 70 miles away from his house to the location they camped. And I'm quite sure since they only saw him in passing, they didn't go, hey, sir, we're going camping at this location.
right.
Bye.
That's true. So you
So,
think someone could have like followed them to their home or something like in
not
their
at all. Candace and Don, they're addicts. They have a lot of friends that are addicts. And what happens when you have a lot of addict friends? A lot of them have criminal histories.
yeah,
And all it takes is for one person that nobody really knows, maybe a lifelong friend of Candace's family, maybe somebody that took her sister, is now older and can't take an older woman, and went, nobody suspected me at all. And I'm just a friend of the family that was so under the radar. And her daughter looks a lot like her sister, which they do when they're side by side. They look so identical. Like it could have been her childhood picture. I think that the person who might have taken, what was her name? Rose?
mm-hmm.
That might have taken Rose is now an older person, an older man that can't take a person of that age anymore, and decided, I know that grandma's going to the doctors. I'm going over there. And it's easy to point that out.
Wow, that's a new one.
Well, it's not only that, but they have a bunch of addict friends, and those addict friends sometimes have criminal histories. And if they've ever been to the house at any point in time, they know the layout. And what happens when you're not home and they hear, oh, she's going with grandma somewhere? Well, we're going to go to the back door, break in, and steal stuff because we need to sell it. So they
Yeah,
go in, they steal stuff, but they come home. And down comes summer, and this person has a bad criminal history towards children. And he's like, hey, you want to play hide and seek? Come on. We can just run out here and we'll hide in the woods. And he runs out to the road where his vehicle might have been parked off of another road. And he's like, come on, no, it's really funny because they're not going to be able to find you and then we'll scare them later. And she gets to the vehicle and they start driving and she realizes 15, 20 minutes down the road, he's not playing hide and seek. And mom, she always says, how many times have you said, give me a minute? I'm from New York. A minute means an hour and a half. I'll be there in a minute. Hour and a half later, I'm like, hey, one more minute. So when she says, I was only gone for 5 minutes, that's just her phrasing that she says for everything. I was only gone for 5 minutes. She could
no,
have been
she's
gone for an
gone
hour.
for a long time. Yeah,
Right.
she left looking for her in a truck, so that means she expected her to get pretty far, or she took her somewhere. But if she did not do it, she expected her that to get pretty far. She went looking for in a truck for half an hour or longer.
Well,
But,
I think the reason she did that was because, as everybody knows, those roads are long. So if you speed down a road, just like the man whose son went missing on the Appalachian Trail, he ran 2 miles at a dead sprint because you can't get far carrying a kid. So it was the Martin case where the kid disappeared and has never been found again. But if you drive fast, other people that are, taking somebody, they want to drive the speed limit because the last thing you want is to get pulled over by the police. So you're going to get in your car and you're going to do the steady speed limit. You're going to follow every direction you possibly can. For her, I think she jumped in her vehicle and said, if somebody took her, I need to start driving now. And of course, Don, he broke the law to get back. He just went crazy driving. I don't
Okay.
think they truly had anything to do with it. I think Don checked one of the closest places that maybe one of his friends might have brought his daughter. Not friends, but one of his co-drug user buddies might have brought the daughter because they went down and did drugs there before or something. So he went straight to a shed because he's thinking, it better not be Rob, because if Rob did it, that's a random name. I'm not saying there's a Rob, but if Rob did it, the only place he'd take her, because he doesn't have a car, is down to that shed, and it's closer than everything else. So I think the reason that he went there was because his own head, he was like, it must be this person. And the only place he'd take her is the only place that we all been before while we did drugs. Candace, she jumped in her vehicle and started driving because she said, somebody took her. I know it. So I'm going to go look. And they're going to be on the road driving slow. And she would have probably, let's say another vehicle, a Toyota was driving. She'd ram her off the road. Every mother would, just because they could have your child and they shouldn't be on that road.
Yeah, well, okay, let me say something though. I got to say this, because now I think you have a good point, because addicts tend to hang around with really shady people who don't give a damn. They don't follow the law about anything. So you're likely to run into perverts and creeps and all that stuff. However, I will say, I've been really open about my addiction. I used to be in active addiction, and I'm in recovery for 6 years now. When I was
Congratulations.
Thank you. I thought about this with Debbie too, because, her daughter and boyfriend. Well, I've never saw anybody like in my active addiction doing like these kinds of things, like selling kids, taking kids, or murdering people. Now, I will say there was a guy who was murdered. I believe the day he got his prescription, that I know about. Like, so you do hear about people doing stuff for stuff occasionally, but it's not like, I don't know. It's just not something that,
I don't
like,
think she was taken for that, though. I think she was taken for an Ariel Castro type of situation. And once the heat started getting bigger, he couldn't take the chance. So when people are thinking they're trying to traffic, the reason Don said that is because it's a big thing. Trafficking is a huge thing right now, and it's going on all over the place. But he thought that because it's the only logical explanation in his head. Somebody took her to traffic her. I don't think he was planning on selling her, or he did sell her. I just think it's something that popped in his head because it's huge in the papers. They had an actual FBI sting that was going on during the time of Kylie, which people started saying, I bet you she was taken for that.
Mhm.
But I think the person took her because they wanted to do an Ariel Castro situation, and they completed their entire thing, brought her to a cabin that's really far out in the woods that people use for hunting. And since hunting season or fishing season isn't going, they figured it would be safe there. Then when they saw all the heat in the papers and all of the people going up to the Wells property, well, if there was anything to trace them back to them, they had to get rid of the evidence. And I'm not saying that to break any hearts. It's just that's how I foresee it. It could be Don or Candace, but they're not smart enough, and plus their house is disgusting. So imagine
Allie, I'm sorry. I
imagine
just
your
want
house,
to say
Brett.
thank you for letting me
Imagine
come
your
up.
house is filthy, right? Like theirs, and you commit a crime. Well, DNA evidence would be all over that, not just your house, but the filth, right?
that's true.
So
I hadn't thought about that. So you'd have to clean up
you
unless
would
it
have
just
to,
happened there. But yeah, that's a
well,
good
no,
point.
you would have to clean up and then refilthy it for months. It has to look like it's filthy for months. They didn't care. Their house was disgusting. Even when people came over, they just tidied up enough so you could walk through the house. Well, there'd be evidence all over all the dirt. There'd be no way to clean it up and then recover the dirt with all the filth from months.
Yeah,
So
that's a
for me,
Hey, Allie, I just want to say thank you for letting me come up. I got to hop down, but
I
I've
love,
really enjoyed this. And allegedly, it's so nice talking to you. I'm going to go subscribe to you.
I love you guys. So
Yeah, I'll be
we
dropping
love,
your links too, friend.
and thank you for coming, Britt. Appreciate it so much.
All right, love you. Thank you,
All right.
everybody. In chat. Y'all have a good day.
Okay, you
you too.
too. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of people who believe that they're innocent. Now there's a lot that believe they're guilty, and I think that they do some stuff that's pretty foolish, like the pranks and stuff. That's kind of what leads me to giving them a side eye. It's like the games they play, like like were you around whenever they said that she calls Mary crying that Don's been arrested, and all of YouTube goes insane, and they spice up their prank with like where he's going. They say Boston or somewhere, and it just happens to be like the place he would go for maybe the crime against his, I don't know. It's just like the amount of thought and time they put into doing foolish shit like that and being so ungrateful to so many people who just want to help. I don't know. I didn't like that.
I just think they're fighting like they normally do without realizing that they're looking even worse by doing it. This is something that I think goes on all the time with them. And for them, they don't see it like that. I mean, I know tons of people, like the girl that I was dating that actually robbed me because she was a recovering addict from Florida. She had come up here and she literally just kept taking everything from me, and I was just trying to help her. But
maybe she wasn't recovering.
oh, she definitely was saying she was, but she definitely wasn't. But
Yeah.
she was just taking everything she possibly can until finally she lost her place of where she would live and stuff. And when she had gotten back to Florida, she kept communicating with me and kept doing it, crying all the time and talking about how bad life was. And I felt so bad. But for her, she had 3 kids and a guy who was off drugs whenever he wasn't with her. And when they're together, she always gets him to get back on it.
Oh.
As soon as she got home, she didn't really care about, she would always say, I love my kids. But you wouldn't see her with her kids. She was always doing drugs.
Yeah.
And then,
exactly what you mean. People like that.
right. So of course, look at Candace and Don. Do they look like the big, we're going to take all these family pictures and go to the park and dress up to go out shopping? They just are like, your kids go play. I'm going to do drugs.
Yeah. Now, I will say she took pictures of them, but you're right. They are the kind of people that I know for a fact, like when they got home that day, or I feel like I know for a fact, I obviously don't. This is my speculation. I feel like, and we've been told that every day at 5 o'clock, Candace, that's when she's drinking. And I just feel like she certainly would have went straight home, like put whatever up really quick and immediately opened up her bottle.
Agreed. Which is why if she did it, she would have messed up. The whole crime scene would be everywhere. She couldn't have done anything consciously, even if she wasn't high or drunk at the time, strictly because she's just that lazy. And I'm not saying it to hurt her feelings or be offensive. I'm doing it in defense of her. She's just too lazy.
Oh, sorry, my mom started calling. It like kicked me out. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I will say, like, the area, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, you follow these cases and you like being there in person. It's just it takes it to another level. As a matter of fact, I think next week I want to try to go to where Lyric and Devin were found, because that's only like 2 hours or less from my house, because I just want to get like that perspective and talk to the community. I talked to the community there. I'll tell you what really annoyed me. There were more signs for a missing dog on that road than for Summer. There were 2 signs for Summer. They were weathered. You couldn't see it. You couldn't read it. The dog had brand new posters on every single phone pole from like the beginning of the beginning of Beach Creek Road. And Summer had 2 weathered signs at the end of Ben Hill Road on both sides. And I believe there may have been one more little sign somewhere. Other than that, that was it. In one liquor store, there was a lottery machine that flashed her Amber Alert. And those are the only things I saw. I mean, for me, I would be posting my kids' flyers all over everything at stores, outside, and they would be replaced, because ultimately, aren't you trying to find your kids? So that's I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, I think that's another reason why Don said somebody took her, because if you tell the police somebody took your child, it's even whether or not they have a description of the vehicle, it should be an Amber Alert right away, like instantly. And they didn't have anything to go with, just him saying she was taken. I think that's why he kept forcing it. She was taken, because it would in turn become a kidnapping case, which that happens with kids and adults. It's the same thing.
Right.
With Kylie's situation, from what I heard, Kylie had posters everywhere nonstop, which means the community was really out there doing stuff.
Yeah, they were, but I don't know. Kylie, like, oh, I feel so. I have my feelings about that. Especially now, and I know you guys don't like. I still feel that video kind of shows because the time. It's just the exact time. You could be right. Somebody could be like, playing in the water, but wouldn't it be really cold at night, like at this time of year? And I don't know. I don't know.
Honestly, it could be anything. For me, I have my theory. I always stick to my theory no matter what, unless a bombshell drops, and this isn't a bombshell for me. You can't see
Okay.
anything. So for me, my original theory that something occurred, somebody turned off her phone, they kept her for a couple of days, if not did something right away, etc. For me, I have to stick to my theory because nothing else would make sense, especially if somebody was driving erratically through the woods into a bush and short tree covered area and then down a sandbank into muddy sand water. For me, that just it is really weird. Unless somebody else put something on the pedal, like wedged a crowbar in to hold the pedal down against the seat and just tied the wheel enough, but still you would swerve in sand. You would swerve through that gravel. It on dirt, you would just keep swerving, especially if you're going fast, bumping all around. For me, the way that the light travels looks like it's an illusion, a light illusion that people see all the time with vehicles that are driving down a highway, but it looks like they're levitating off the ground halfway up a mountain. It's just a visual distortion, and it was possibly somebody driving down one of the side roads.
Yeah, I need to learn more about. I think that'd be really interesting to learn about now, like kind of those cameras and the lights and how they would and all of that with the water, like doing some tests or something. That would be interesting to see. I better go though, I think, because I have to replace my tire. I have to leave
Oh
tomorrow.
no.
Yeah, I busted my tire yesterday. It has a donut on it, and I don't think I can drive that on the interstate, right? Can you
I
drive a
don't know,
donut on the interstate?
but I'm going to drop out so I can go in a chat real quick.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. I love listening to you. You're super, interesting, have a lot of great theories, and thank you so
You
much.
have a great day, make good choices, and take the day by storm. Bye.
Okay, see you later. Okay, you guys. Wow, what interesting conversation. We went from through so many different things, but yeah, I guess I better go. I've been on here for an hour and 20 minutes. I kind of just wanted to have a quick chat with you guys. I'm so glad that we did. It was fun and interesting. Yeah, which is my favorite word. It was intriguing. Please don't drive with the donut. It's dangerous. Yeah, I'm not going to. I don't think you can go over 55 with one, or I would try it, but just and change it as soon as I got there to my dad. That's the thing that sucks is like, oh, it just sucks. My family's down there. No, you weren't talking too much. You did great. It was so interesting. Really. Oh, fuck. I keep using that word. I've got to get a thesaurus. I actually did write down like 10 different options, but none of them come off the tongue the way that one does. So, um, yeah, I guess I'm going to go get my tire changed. And then, yeah, tomorrow I'm driving, so I probably won't be live, but I'll definitely be back the next day. And like I said, next week, I'm totally wanting to go to where Lyric and Devin live. And I want to talk to some of the locals and stuff and just get a feel for the place in person and kind of for what's going on. Hopefully by then we'll have some information about the suspect who was apprehended. So short distance. Don't go over 50. Okay. I've driven hundreds of miles on a donut. Thank you guys. And yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I love you all so much. That was allegedly up here, and I think the mods dropped his channel, and then Brittany at the beginning, and the mods dropped her channel too, and I'll add them to the description as soon as this is over, so you guys can go check them out if you don't. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.